What ho and welcome to another exciting installment of Jacks Off on a Plane With. And the wonderful thing about flying on commercial airlines is you never quite know who you're going to be sat next to for the duration of the flight. So let's see who we're going to be sitting next to for the next 90 to 120 minutes. Why, it's award-winning television producer Adam McLean. Welcome, Adam.
Lovely to be here. Lovely that you mentioned the awards as well, which is also very good.
What's the point of having them if you're not gonna, bag it out this?
Yes, exactly. I feel I have to point out, as I say to everyone when I mention award winnings, it was a Scottish BAFTA, which some would say is more exclusive than the regular BAFTA, and same with the RTS award. So there we go. Yes.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no! I was just going to say on your opening titles there, might have decided to do sort of that and then that. I was trying to be a bit like a contestant on Going for Gold. Do you remember with Henry Kelly? They would have each contestant from that week's programme doing a particular wave. There was one guy I saw doing it, and he did this, which is great. He did that.
What the hell is that?
I don't know. It's just clutching. I don't know what country he came from, but maybe it was the custom there. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
I think he was possibly from Norway or somewhere like that.
Well, I don't really know too much about Norwegian customs, but
I feel like
Hello, passengers.
He was making a futile grab.
At this time, the forward entry door is closed. All large electronic devices should now be shut off and stowed, and all small portable electronic devices must be set to airplane mode. Make sure your seatbelts and tray tables are in their full upright and locked position, and that your seatbelt is correctly fastened. Should you have any difficulty with this, please ring your call button, and a flight attendant will guide you through the process.
Yes, that's true. Does that mean that there was a...
If you've not yet done so, please stow your carry-on luggage underneath the seat in front of you or in the overhead bin, taking care not to force any item into a space that is too small for it. Then please take your seat and fasten your seatbelt. If you are seated in an emergency exit row, carefully read the safety information card located in your seat back pocket. If you do not wish, are unable, or unwilling to perform the functions described in the event of an emergency, a flight attendant will reseat you. We remind you that this is a non-smoking flight. Smoking is prohibited on the entire aircraft, including the lavatories. Tampering with, disabling, or destroying the lavatory smoke detectors is prohibited by law. Please note that e-cigarettes are not a loophole to this regulation. Should you have any other questions about today's flight, please feel free to ask a flight attendant. Thank you.
We are still safely on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, good. Now, what I've done on this occasion is I've not had any caffeine, because if I have caffeine, I go a bit bananas on a plane. Not air rage, I'm
not REM level.
No,
Ladies and gentlemen,
absolutely not.
please direct your attention to the seatback monitors ahead of you for a video demonstrating the safety features of this aircraft. We recognize some of you may be frequent travelers, but this information is important, and we ask for your undivided attention at this time.
If that's a good place
I think that's not too bad at all, because if you're at the back, it feels like when you take off, you think, oh my word, is this plane actually going to make it into the sky? Does it have that propulsion? Whereas when you're in the middle, it's a lot better.
The crazy thing, of course, about planes.
That's not welcome aboard.
Nobody knows how they.
We know you have many other choices.
How they stay in the air in the first
regional
place.
carriers,
It's complete
national and international
Is it like bees?
It is like bees and magnets.
That means a lot.
Yes.
Thank you so
Those are
much.
two separate
Now,
categories.
before we take
Okay.
off, please pay attention to the following safety
I'd like to
statements.
I'd like to think just at the end of our lives, someone
If you haven't done so
a bit
already,
like
please fasten your seatbelt.
Clive
In order
Myrie
to accomplish
from
this,
Mastermind
simply
just
follow
tells you
the
what the
seatbelt
correct
signs.
answers were before you
First,
snuff it.
grasp the flat metal end of the
Just
seatbelt in your
because,
right hand.
I'd just
You can
like the
easily
answers to
identify
these
this part
mysteries
of
of
the
the world.
seatbelt by the square
Am I
hole
getting too
on
deep?
one end.
Considerably, but
with your right
Usually
hand,
it's the sort of
pick up the
second
buckle,
half of the.
and then
You mentioned
slowly and
Scotch
steadily
BAFTA.
move the metal end
Yes,
towards the
yes.
buckle, keeping both ends
That was
perfectly aligned.
for. It was all right in the
Carefully
70s, wasn't it?
insert the metal end into the buckle until you
that
hear
was
it click.
quite a show. Wasn't
Tighten the
it?
strap,
Did you watch
find
any
the
of it?
end of the strap and Careful not to pull too tight, or you'll have to
Sliding the
loosen
wrong
it.
slider. I watched all of it, I think.
Oh, wonderful! A viewer. How
Yes,
lovely.
Indeed. But what would you say the pitch was for that?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but in around 2012 it was originally pitched, and you might have noticed there was an awful lot of controversial TV personalities getting into all sorts of trouble post.
You could say that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So it
you could.
It wasn't exactly that, but I think there was a conversation had between an executive producer and a commissioner about that, and it sort of spilled out into a conversation about the sort of television that wouldn't be on TV these days.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't come up with the initial idea for it. It was Lee Hupfield and Kate Techman was the commissioner, and I remember, and it was Andrew Newman who wasn't at the company called Objective Productions. Anyway, they came back from this meeting and they just said, "Oh, we've come up with an idea for a show that you need to work on."
Oh God!
And so I developed it up based on basically my DVD collection for starters. But it wasn't just my stuff. There were a lot of other people working on it, and people who found lots of archive that was brilliant as well. But the initial idea, we had to do a taster tape, and I did that, and I found a few clips that sort of sent shockwaves around Channel 4, I believe.
Oh, really?
They weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
But it took them a long time to finally commission it in the end. I don't know why. I think there was some talk about whether they could do it because, it was quite controversial.
Yeah.
But there was certainly an intention to do it. That little taster tape, sizzle reel, if you will, was passed around quite a few places, I think, at the channel. And
so I suppose there must have been some sort of legal implications as well, because
oh, definitely. I mean, I probably ought not to go into too many specifics.
Yeah.
But you just have to. It was constantly checked by a team of lawyers from the independent production company, Objective Productions, and from Channel 4 themselves. And I'm sure even further down the line we would have had complaints. I can't quite remember if we did have any complaints or not. I've had complaints for other shows.
Yeah. I think I remember one of the reviews sort of accusing it of a bit sort of what I think would later come to term cakeism, of that notion of isn't it terrible how we just have topless women all over the shop? Here's some topless women as an illustration.
I'm not in a position to. Well, I am in a position to. I'm totally in a position to. I guess that's a fair comment, I suppose.
Yeah.
In that it wasn't an entertainment commission, but we wanted the clips to be certainly get a reaction from people. And I think, further down the line, when we were 2 series into it, we did go down a more absurd line, which is possibly a bit more entertainment than shock. But I can totally understand that comment. I remember it from the time, and I wasn't going to rush to disagree with it. Are we setting off soon? Jack?
We are. Yes, I'm going to try and keep you distracted. Do you happen to remember,
please,
and I'm not, this isn't. There's no agenda to this question, Adam. But do you remember the bit that I suggested?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you remember the bit that I suggested?
Oh, what was that?
It was the, and this came to me via something that we saw when I was at university. It was during the Troubles, where members of the IRA weren't allowed to be heard. Their voices couldn't be broadcast.
Yes.
So what was happening was actors were coming in to dub over the Irish, and and it was like a blanket ban.
So
there was this particular documentary about prison conditions, just not IRA specific at all.
Yes.
This is IRA person who was in prison and was a prison rep having this discussion with the sort of the heads of the prison staff about, I think, the size of the sausages.
That's right. Yes, yes, I remember that one.
And the whole thing had to be dubbed with somebody else's voice, and
that was absolutely superb, that clip, and it was from the 90s, wasn't it? Because that was the time when they did do that. Now, we did put it in, didn't we? I can't quite remember
absolutely,
now.
Absolutely. And you had who's that? Who's that political reporter who looks a bit like Katie Brand, Joe Brand? I mean, very different people.
John Sargent.
John Sargent. Yes, I think he was the talking head on it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God, yes. Yeah. It's all coming back to me. You have to forgive me. It was. I tend not to watch. Hang on. I tend not to watch.
So I'll look away from the window.
Keep talking to me. Keep looking in my eyes.
Right into the eyes.
I tend not to watch stuff that I've made after I've made it, but I sort of feel like I need to go back to it because actually, if I watched it now. Some of those clips would look totally fresh to me because I may have forgotten a few of them. But that one I do remember definitely. It was very interesting and very odd scenario situation that we found ourselves in at that time. And dare I say it, faintly comical.
Oh, certainly. Well, it was. It fed into some comedy because you had it was lampooned on. The boys will probably correct me on this. It was either the Day-to-Day or Brass Eye, where you had. I think the law in place was that you could. A member of the IRA could speak, but they had to be exhaling helium.
Helium, yes, I remember that.
So you had Steve Coogan as an IRA rep.
I think it was the Day-to-Day, but I'm prepared to be shouted down.
I feel it was more of a Day-to-Day idea.
Yeah. Again, that's another. Those shows I haven't really seen since the 90s either.
There you go. The boy coming up with the goods. The Day-to-Day. Sanford as a serious political party.
Yeah.
That's filmed in Armando Iannucci's back garden.
Oh, was it?
Apparently so. Yes.
I did not know that. That's a lovely little fact there. That
You can tell the boy knows what he's talking about because he spelled Iannucci correctly.
I
two I's, two N's, two C's.
Oh my goodness! Can you do Mississippi in the same way?
MISSISSIPPI, Mississippi.
Oh wow! Yeah.
There's a song for that one. Yes. I think I got it right. Yeah.
But there's no song for Iannucci.
There isn't yet.
Maybe we should think of one.
Yeah, definitely.
Along the way, something to take my mind off this plane journey.
Yes. Oh, now.
Yes.
Adam, I'm going to go back a bit now.
Yeah.
Not in your career, but in your life.
Okay.
So I think when you grow up, in most households, I would say, not every household, you're kind of raised to consume television.
Yes.
And I was wondering, was there a particular moment when you were consuming television that you can remember where you thought, hang on, somebody makes all of this, which means I could make some of that?
That's a really good question, and my answer is I feel like I sort of always knew.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think I may have had a couple of books or similar where you would see behind the scenes of television, and I got that impression that that's how it was done. But certainly, I think as a lifelong Doctor Who fan. As many people are.
The well-known children's telefantasy series.
Yes. You have you seen it yourself?
I was. Do you remember Colin Baker?
Yes.
I was in the last two.
Oh, really?
That. It was between me and Colin, and Colin picked me to the post.
Oh.
And to be honest, kind of glad considering how it went after that. But
yes, fair enough. I mean, no, and Colin did a good job, I thought.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think if you had that multicolored coat, it would have been possibly a bit of a distraction to your performance.
Have you seen the Blue Coat restoration?
Oh, the Blue Coat. Oh, as in are you on about the cloak that he wore? Or
somebody
someone's done a version of the Blue Coat based on the animated story.
No, what somebody did was they took some live action Colin Baker, and they made his coat all his outfit blue, rather than the sort of the hodgepodge patchwork monstrosity that we all know and know. And it dramatically changes his oeuvre.
Really? I may have to take a look at that. Then you'll have to point me in the right direction of it. I've always wondered, though, recently wondered whether Ncuti Gatwa, the current Doctor Who, is such an extraordinary clothes horse. Is that the right way? He can carry off literally any outfit. Pants. I just wonder. Pants. Yeah, he was quite good with that.
A
kilt. Kilt, yes, with vest.
With vest. Yeah, I think if your first sort of proper outing, as it were, as Doctor Who, features you basically in what appears to be a gay club.
Yes.
Dancing in a kilt and a vest. I think it's gonna be an interesting run.
Well, yes. No, I was just thinking whether he'd be able to carry off Colin Baker's coat with a plum. Would he make it look, very
if the
cool?
question is, would he carry it off better than Colin? I think the answer is yes. Whether it would be enough, I don't know. I don't want to underestimate, but I don't want to over promise.
Right. Okay. Keep talking because the engines are starting. This is the moment, isn't it? So Just as I say, just.
So what would you say
was
your path?
I've got to answer the question.
Yes.
So, being a Doctor Who fan, it's sort of part and parcel. You read the magazine, you sort of read the making of Doctor Who book and stuff like that. So you sort of know that there's a producer and there's a director and there's people with cameras and a script editor. Script editors were, of course, very important back in the day because they basically ran the show. So all that sort of stuff did appeal to me, and more so than being on screen. While it's lovely being here with you at the moment, broadcasting to the masses, I don't do it that often. And I kind of like being behind the scenes, although I am a bit showbiz sometimes, and I do quite like the occasional bit of attention. In fact, you can see the back of my head in my latest show.
Fantastic! I look forward to your latest show.
Yes.
What's that?
Oh, it's one coming up fairly soon. I can't say the exact broadcast date because I'm not absolutely sure, but I just done a documentary about the classic 90s sitcom Bottom with Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson, and someone, not me, even though maybe I didn't shy away from it, but someone had the bright idea of having some of the questions posed by myself, so you get to see the back of my head and hear me speaking on about 2 occasions.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? Because I do quite like it when there's no voice of the program maker, as it were. But in general, Adam. In general.
Yeah. No, I can understand that, and I'm not exactly Alan Wicker. I'll tell you that. For starters, he doesn't get scared when a plane takes off.
But the problem is that I think a lot of deceit creeps in as well. If you do that, if you take the voice out.
Yes. Well, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, you can't guarantee that what you're seeing is the raw, honest truth. I suppose.
No.
And they may be reacting to. I mean, I've seen some programs where. I've witnessed in my time, but I don't do this myself. Someone possibly answering a question that wasn't someone answering another question to the question that was posed.
Okay.
But it sort of fits. And I suppose you have to take an editorial judgment on that. Like I say, I wouldn't do it myself, but I suppose if it brings things to a neat conclusion. Maybe and no one's really hurt, and it's not really distorting people's opinions. Maybe it's not as bad as all that. But
if there was somebody saying, if there's a clip of somebody saying there were 3 of them, and the thing that you've taken it from somebody describing there being 3 of them in X, and you sellotaped it over to something, so it's referring to something with Y, where also there were 3 of them. Yes. There's no sort of factual misleading.
No,
if you see what I mean. So,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
there's scope, I think, even though it's still a little bit.
And I think that's
wobbly.
fair enough. Yeah. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you do. Sometimes these things are appropriate, and if you feel like you're not, if you're confident that you're not misleading people, then that's better. But I like I say, I don't think. I've seen one or two examples of it. I wouldn't do it myself, and I'd encourage other people not to do it as well.
I think the other thing that happens a lot is, because I think Danny Baker, do you remember him from the Daz ads?
Oh yes.
I think he was brought in to talk about, I don't know, Buster Keaton or something, because he's a firm lover of the old sort of silent comics.
Yeah,
and,
who isn't?
Indeed, and it was almost like they said, all right, now that's that out of the way. Oh, we want to talk to you about Dave Chappelle or whoever. And it was going like, no, I'm not. I was booked to talk about Buster Keaton. I've talked about Buster Keaton. I'm off. And I think that's fair. I saw, and because what tends to happen, as you'll probably know, is that you'll show tapes of things to people who aren't necessarily familiar with the subject matter, so that they can then react to it as if it was sort of safe within their wheelhouse, when it's actually something that they've necessarily have heard of.
Yes. Are you are you on about a bit of prep work here?
Yeah. So it's not just about talking heads. It's you're not you, but the crew is sort of showing the talking head something, and then asking him questions directly about the thing that they've just seen. Yeah.
Yes. No, that does happen. I think that's fine, really. I mean, you can't expect everyone to know everything about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some awfully knowledgeable people on certain shows. It seems that there's suddenly experts on a few bits and pieces that you never knew they were experts on. But I think if you sending people a little aid memoir, which that's no bad thing. For Bottom, we sent some of the cast and crew clips just to remind them of the thing that they made, and I certainly think that you've reminded me about your excellent clip from It Was All Right in the 90s, and I'd have probably needed to have seen. I probably should have seen that. So even though I'm completely justified to talk about it.
Yes.
So,
absolutely. I know that the boy interviews people who've done stuff, and he generally prepares a sort of a little, not a zeitgeist tape, but that sort of thing, of a kind of a catch-up tape.
Exactly, and it means that they stick to the subject matter that you want to talk about as well, which I think is very good. It's kind of a gentle way of saying we want to talk about this scene from this program, as opposed to the student film that you've just made with some people, naming no names, but that did happen.
Okay.
But it's mutually beneficial.
Yes.
Shall we say?
I think I did see Joan Rivers on as a talking head on something. I think it was like the top 50 stand-ups or something.
Yeah.
And there's this Billy Connolly joke about a man who murders his wife and buries her with her bum sticking out of the ground.
I think I know the one.
So that he's got somewhere to park his bike. And Joan Rivers delivers this very impassioned thing saying, oh yeah, all over New York people were talking about this. Oh, have you seen this Scottish guy does this joke about Barry? And I was watching it and I'm thinking, yeah, you're at the end of your tether here with the production. And because I couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy that this one joke from this Scottish comedian was making its way around New York. And I thought, you've just had enough of this.
So this was Parkinson about 74 or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where they would have to send the tapes over to New York in order for people to see it. And I don't know whether Parkinson was shown in New York, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it was.
Maybe. It just felt very and then it was like she was hitting it wrong. She was hitting it angry rather than enthusiastic. So I thought, oh, I feel like this is the one bit of tape that stands between her and lunch. There we are.
We've all been there. All been there, especially if it's overrunning. And could we just have one last comment on this? And things often overrun in those interviews, I have to say. It's actually more disconcerting when those interviews underrun.
Yes, yeah.
Because you wonder, hang on, have we covered everything that we need to cover? Is the person not terribly good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we've got time for tonight, on
Okay. Well, it's been fun.
It's good. You didn't bring a parachute, didn't you?
I hate to tell you this, but I can't actually get out without plummeting 40,000 feet.
Was that old joke about the guy who, so he was watching a film and it disgusted him so much he stormed out of the cinema, but unfortunately he was on a plane.
Yes, the punchline I'd already done there. Unfortunately,
You should never start with a. Oh, we used to do that. We do that every so often. We try to bridge the gap between the socials and the stream.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do occasionally is we put up 3 punchlines.
Yes.
And then during the stream, we do the feeds. But obviously, because you know the punchline first, it kind of undermines the joke. So what we do is we don't have them in the same order, and you've got to work it out.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because that actually reminds me of when I did All Star Mr. and Mrs.
Oh my.
Where they worked out that if and this was back in the border television days when Derek Beatty was doing the regular Mr. and Mrs. They worked out that if he asks the same questions in the same order, the Mr. or the Mrs. who's in the soundproof booth can just be required to answer. So the first question you answer C. A second question B. So they eventually worked out, not in the early episodes, I don't think, but in the later episodes, they worked out that they should put the questions in a different order when the Mr. or Mrs. comes out of the soundproof booth and has to answer the questions.
I would say as well that you want to. I'm no program maker myself, apart from Twitch.
I don't know. This is quite good, this is just a chat, isn't it? I mean, it's a lovely casual thing. I mean, I suppose it counts as a program, but it feels like a sort of, I don't know, nice luxury trip to Nova Scotia from New York. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Very much looking forward to Nova Scotia.
Oh yeah.
I've flown to Nova Scotia, but I've never been to Nova Scotia.
Tell you what, it sounds like where a few brainy people, a few cultured people would hang out.
Definitely.
I seem to remember Donald Sutherland was from there at some point in his life.
Donald Sutherland, of course, appeared in a drama about Lee Harvey Oswald killing JFK, and then years later, a drama about Lee Harvey Oswald not killing JFK.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
and Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, which didn't feature either plotline, but
yes,
that's beside the point. That's I did not know that fact.
Yeah.
I guess I've got a lot to learn about Donald Sutherland.
He's had a wide and varied career.
Certainly has. Yeah. He turns up in an episode of Man in a Suitcase as well.
Yes.
The old ITC. He's in 2 episodes of that. Anyway.
Yes.
Sorry. What were we talking about?
Nova Scotia.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting. I wonder why it's called Nova Scotia. I mean, it's the Latin for New Scotland, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
But they're
So
a bit clumsy, aren't they,
Scotland?
compared to because we just left New York, and they don't call it Nova Yorkia.
Yorkia, yeah.
No.
Unless they do when nobody's looking.
Yeah, so I reckon Nova Scotia is a bit more highbrow.
A little bit.
I don't know.
Although I would say calling it Nova Scotia, for that reason, I would think that would make it a little bit mid.
Oh, a sort of. Is there something a bit naff about it? Maybe a sort of nouveau riche thing.
I would.
It's like iron columns outside their front door.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to test this out. Now, a lot of your work has been kind of nostalgia driven, I would say.
Yes, with good reason.
And I was going to say that you yourself are driven by televisual nostalgia.
If I didn't have television nostalgia, I would just evaporate into dust. No, you can't evaporate into dust. You evaporate into vapor.
Yes, vapor. That's
the clues in the name.
Yes. I guess what is it about current TV that you hate so much? I think that's the question, isn't it? That's the question on everybody's mind.
It's me making it. Occasionally. I don't know. Do you know what? There is a little bit. There's a little bit of play here in that. I started doing the telly at the start of in 2000. It was my first job in TV related work, and that coincides with my sort of knowledge of TV kind of dropping off. And I think my reason is I don't like doing homework. I never liked doing homework at school. I still don't like doing homework. I find it a pain. I think there's a moment where you should be able to switch off and not worry about things like that. And clocking on and clocking off. It doesn't happen like that, and it doesn't happen like that with me at all. But sometimes watching the television can sometimes feel like homework.
I can relate in ways that I can't reveal without doxing myself, but I can relate.
I mean, it's not strictly true. I do watch a fair bit of television these days, but it depends on the type of television.
Yeah.
In some ways, I can't watch programs that I might make myself, the sort of programs that I might make myself, because I look on in envy at everybody else's brilliant work, and I get a bit nervous and go, "Oh, hang on, am I doing it right?"
Yeah.
So
not quite sort of full on imposter syndrome, but just a sort of.
Oh, but there's always that. And I think a lot of people in the industry have a tinge of that. I mean, there's a few people who absolutely don't, and they're sort of hugely confident. And I just wish I could. It'd be nice to have a little piece of that now and again.
I feel it must be difficult to gain confidence in such a collaborative medium as well. That the success or failure of a project involves so many different people.
Very true.
All pulling in the right direction.
Very true.
It must be quite difficult to say, right, this happened because of me. Not in a sort of in that kind of self-aggrandizing way, but just in terms of
it's 100% that, and I do my best not to take the full credit for anything I work on, because that would just be arrogant. And there's lots of other very, very talented people who work on these things, and you've got to take my hat off to archive producers and producers and edit producers and the production manager and the production coordinator and production secretary. Literally everyone is as you say, pulling in the same direction, trying to make the best possible thing that can be done. I think one of the things with television production, I always get a bit bothered when just as a little sideline, I'm going to have a bit of a rant, when you see on chiefly social media, I think, people saying, "Oh, this is lazy television," or this was just lazy when they did that. And I think for me, saying something's lazy is actually lazy in itself, because it's a very easy thing to see, and I think people use it at the drop of a hat. And the truth of the matter is, no one in television is lazy, not as far as I've seen. Everyone works very long hours, I have to say. I mean, the remuneration is generally fairly good, not as good as perhaps people think it is, but it isn't a lazy business, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Mind you, it's also not coal mining. You've just got to keep things in check, haven't you?
I think it's difficult as well because I think a lot of the time when people say something is lazy, they're talking kind of like about the underlying idea often, and this idea that because I suppose I'm guilty of this myself sometimes in seeing sort of creative endeavor in general, where you think, oh, they've just taken like the very shortest route from that sort of initial concept to what they've created, and I think this again, even that short route, as you say, cannot be done without a huge amount of effort. I think of cinema, I think Dustin Hoffman said, you have to congratulate anyone who has ever made a film, because it's just, you underestimate exactly how difficult it is to make a film.
Oh, absolutely, especially getting something finished as well. There's just a graveyard full of, ideas that never came to fruition, or things where, it's a real uphill struggle getting things in and signed off and closed and everyone's happy. It's and also because you're trying to appeal to a wide audience and not just yourself. That's hard as well, to a certain extent.
So, sorry, go
on. I think if there's any kind of laziness or slovenliness that may appear in these things, maybe you spot a spelling mistake or a fact that is completely wrong. And, I've been guilty of that on a few occasions myself. It's probably more to do with pressures of time. Also, to a certain extent, if little pernickety mistakes often happen because you're so used to watching this over and over and over and over again in an edit. You don't spot things.
And I would say also, from my limited understanding, the point at which you spot a mistake is not the point at which you can correct that mistake, usually.
Well, the worst ones are when it's on the screen, as it's being broadcast. There are certain ways and means. If there was something that was actually, there are sometimes you get some things that you go, oh, this is a mistake, and it has to be corrected. And they will recall. Well, they used to recall the tapes, but most of these things are tapeless in this day and age, and that has to be done. If you make a mistake and it's been delivered, that's a great expense. Or alternatively, I mean, in terms of not.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Oh. I didn't do my belt up.
Oh,
which means I've robbed myself of the pleasure of removing the belt.
Oh no! Oh, the lovely release feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Did you just try doing it up and then undoing it?
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't really have the same feel.
No.
Great movie mistakes.
Oh, hang on. No, I just want to finish off.
Yes.
What I was going to say. Sometimes a contributor might die, or something that's been said about a person is now no longer appropriate, and then for compliance reasons, you don't want to speak ill of someone who's passed away. Or something similar. If someone's going on a rant about someone and they died, within. After recording and stuff like that, you have to recall it and then you have to edit it. But there's contingency fees for that sort of thing, I believe. So I don't get too involved in the money side of it.
I remember an episode of Smack the Pony.
Yes,
and they had a sort of this kind of, I think it was sort of cocking a snoop at those sort of lifestyle ads about women that you used to get.
Yeah,
this sort of lovely couple in this spacious apartment, and their exciting, rewarding jobs, and it's all this sort of overlaying text describing their wonderful lives. And then at the end, it said, "Just one bomb would really mess this all up for them." And it's in a kind of a longing, if only sort of way. I don't have the full story of this, but when that went out at the end of the show, this caption came up saying, the makers of this program would like to give their condolences to the victims of such and such a bombing. We apologize for for this particular sketch. There wasn't enough time
Yeah.
For it to not be there.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. There was Doctor Who. There was a terrible thing with the Robot of Sherwood episode where they had to cut a little sequence from the ending, and they had to change a certain amount of the ending because of events going on in the Middle East.
God.
Yes, and that wasn't good.
Thankfully, we can put all of that behind us now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, it's fixed.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel, and I've got this itch in my head now of a show where you had kind of you had sections of sort of A, B, C, D, and you had to, I don't know if this was you or somebody else, had to switch the order of two sections. Like whole sections had to be. This is a terrible question because it's every chance of not going somewhere.
It's a sort of cryptic. It's a movement that we've that had to be something that had to be changed.
It was quite it was like a hugely extreme thing, and of course we have all the sort of recap grammar now in TV programming.
You're right.
It wasn't a.
It does ring a bell, you know, and I can't quite remember why.
Yeah, that's annoying. Annoying. I blame the altitude.
Yes, it makes my ears go pop, and the pressure on my brain. Also, I'm getting quite old as well, so you know, my memory isn't. But yes, that does sound right, you know, and I might have mentioned it in casual conversation during one evening, and it mattered a lot at the time.
Yes, yeah,
and I can't quite remember why. But I think that does ring a bell.
Wouldn't it be funny if it's a story that you can't tell for the reason why it was switched in the first place? I remember now. Yeah, we can't talk about it. Yeah, we can't talk about that. No.
Now I could just do that and be none the wiser and just lie through my teeth, and you would buy it.
Yeah.
But now I've said that, I can't.
Bottom then.
Yes.
What is it about Bottom that you love so much?
Oh, well, that's because I traditionally am more of a Young Ones fan.
Mm-hmm.
But rewatching every single episode of Bottom and the stage shows and the Guest House Paradiso, I've reminded myself of how great it really was. It really is very, very good because you imagine really that. Not having seen it for a little while, that it's just full of lavatorial jokes or grotesque jokes and violence and stuff like that, which, you know, could be seen as, shall we say, a little bit base. But A, I find that sort of thing very funny, and B, it's very well thought out. It's beneath that there is an amazing bit of pathos about these two guys living alone,
trapped with each other, really.
Trapped with each other in Hammersmith, which actually reflected on my life.
Resonated very strongly.
Between 2010 and 2015, so, I was living in Hammersmith with one other chap.
Was he an Eddie or a Rick? Just out of curiosity.
That's a good question. He had
the two types of men that there are.
He had shorter hair than me, so but then, yeah, he could have been an Eddie, and I could have been a Richie. I don't know. I'll have to ask someone else.
That might be It might be a question for others to answer.
But beyond that though, everything is just so beautifully rehearsed and thought out, and you get the impression. They make chaos out of it, but it is so well planned chaos. But you're none the wiser. It's amazing. It's a really really good show, and it's aged. You know, there's some jokes that may not be quite so appropriate these days, but it's aged for me really really well because. You don't get that level of slapstick in comedy these days, and it's really good. It's hugely entertaining, physical comedy, which is
something that as Britons we're supposed to not enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, this is like, no, we love it. It's just we love it in a very narrow. It has to be sort of super violent in order.
Exactly. It's got to be done cartoon style. I think, and the same. The slapstick of things like the Goodies, where the film speed is cranked up when they go out on location and stuff like that, I think is terrific as well.
Soupy in chat is pointing out that a bit in the third live show where it goes wrong was scripted, and it went wrong at that point every night, and there was a bit. I think as well. I could be wrong in saying this. I suspect that bit was primarily so that they could just get their breath back as well.
Yeah, it's. I think it's yes. I think there is a case of that. I think they deliberately. I don't want to give away too many details about the fantastic documentary that's coming up. But I think that it's a sort of known amongst fan circles that they would contrive a fluff fairly early on in the recording of an episode just to set the audience at ease. And they go, and they have a jolly good laugh, and it creates a brilliant atmosphere. It's a bit of a few other shows, a few other performers do that as well, and it breaks the ice.
The Simon and Garfunkel live, they used to do that. They just sort of snap out of character. So we don't hate each other, it's fine. And then they'd go into Frank Lloyd Wright. Yeah.
I wish I was there to have seen that.
I was running down a list of Simon and Garfunkel songs. No, too obvious. No.
Yeah. You chose the right one, though.
It's important details like that makes this an award-eligible chat show.
It kept this customer satisfied.
Hey, high five. I think we got that.
Yeah. Can you dub on a slapping sound?
I will fix it in post. Yeah, that's fine. I did a thing. What did I do? I went to see Daniel Kitson. I used to suffer from sleep paralysis, and Daniel Kitson occasionally suffered. I don't know what his current status is with it, but used to suffer from it. And as you all know, probably alongside sleep paralysis, a lot of people suffer from quite vivid hallucinations. And one of those hallucinations is that there's somebody or something in the room with them. And people often talk about the hag sitting on their chest, for instance. And sort of Kitson asked, is there anybody here who suffers from sleep paralysis? I put my hand up and go, do you get the hallucinations? And I went, no. Yeah. And he went, me neither. High five. And then we missed. We sort of did a high 2.5. And I think, a high 2.5 on.
I've had sleep paralysis myself a couple of times, and I find it quite interesting. It's very unnerving and terrifying. But the way you have to, I don't know if everyone else does this, but the way you have to, I suppose you probably do, but you have to make a mental effort to try and move certain parts of your body. You go, if I can just move this finger now, and then you sort of, it spreads out over here and here and here. The other thing I also have in my time was with my eyes shut, I can see the room that I'm in, and I can also telephoto lens. I can just zoom in on, just a book over there or something like that. I've had that as well, which is quite good.
That's
like a superpower.
Yeah.
I know. It's only happened to me about 3 or 4 times, though.
I was getting the sleep paralysis so regularly that I kind of got almost addicted to the phases of it.
Can I ask a question? If you have sleep paralysis so often, do you just go, oh no, it's sleep paralysis? Or do you still have the terror of not being able to move and just trying to train yourself to move?
For me personally, I don't know how it was like the first couple of times that you got it. It was, and this might have sort of slightly skewed my frame of reference for the whole experience. I just assumed I was dying.
All right.
And I continued to not die through like several attacks, and I'm proud to say as well I've yet to die. So that's going very well.
I've noticed,
and I think that once I kind of got used to the fact that this wasn't something that was going to kill me, but also that I was very alert through the process of it. And that there was there's like the sort of very strong rushing sound that I'd get, and this feeling of sinking into yourself.
Ooh.
And all sorts of stuff that was going on. and I became quite fascinated by it.
Yeah. Do you feel like you benefit from it in any way? I mean, is it something that you just go, I'm glad I've experienced that. I'm glad I've experienced it a few times.
Only in that I find it interesting. So to have something interesting, one lives for moments where something interesting happens to one. I mean, happily, it was entirely down to just me having a very erratic sleep cycle because of having quite an erratic life. And as soon as that sort of, that almost happened by accident, where I for other reasons had to quite strictly regulate my sleep cycle. Which almost as much of a problem. I went through this phase of falling asleep at midnight.
Yes.
And waking up at 6 a.m.
Right.
Every night, whatever I was doing, almost on to a level of narcolepsy, where I'd be at a party and it would hit midnight and I'd be zonked. I'd be gone. Yeah. But it was through that.
I mean, I admire the regularity. As somebody who doesn't sleep terribly well, generally, I sort of go, oh, there's advantages to that, though, isn't there? 6 hours sleep, midnight to 6. Anyway, but no, it can't be much fun, actually, especially on nights out.
It was useful for planning in a way, but it was it kind of parties. Yeah, I couldn't party to the small wee.
Would you have to run away like Cinderella?
We never did, but we tended to just go to parties where we could sleep over.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So it was just a matter of going off and boonk.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I
take it you're giving me a high five for being alive there. Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. No, I don't think I've seen very much of Filthy Rich and Cat Flap.
Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, I've not seen since it was on.
I think it was. Did it only go out once? I feel like it only went out.
Only went out once, and I'm sure at the end of the last episode, the continuity announcer said, and Filthy Rich and Cat Flap will return in the autumn, or words to that effect.
Which they did not do.
But someone out there will have the correct answer for that. But it may be just my imagination. But I was expecting another series. I think so. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it when it was on. I think the characters weren't as likable as the characters in The Young Ones and the characters in Bottom. I mean, they're all fairly revolting characters, but at least especially in The Young Ones, there's a trace of you can sympathize with them a little bit, and actually with Bottom as well. You can certainly do that, even though they're really horrible on first impressions. But I just think in Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, they tend to be just horrid.
I feel like it
doesn't features.
It doesn't plug into anything in the same way that The Young Ones plugged into something.
Well,
which is the student in it.
Yes,
at one point the student experience and the generational experience.
Yeah,
and
some have argued that The Young Ones is the cast and the writers reflecting on their student life, and Bottom is Rick and Aid reflecting on their age as well, and then Filthy Rich and Cat Flap is hitting the big time and becoming showbiz stars. But I don't know. Maybe it needed more than just Ben Elton writing it as well. I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's still funny. It's just not quite there.
There you go. Repeated on UK Gold in '95.
Yeah, we didn't do that many times, for sure.
No domestic, as it were.
No, and it's only 6 episodes, so it's not easy to strip it over a week or anything like that. It's a difficult one. I think though, Gold, they show The Young Ones, they show Bottom. They could shove in some Filthy Rich and Cat Flap here and there, maybe, and see how it goes down. Because I'd certainly like to watch it after. I'm just trying to work out. It was 86, 87, 86, so 38 years. Let's say 37 years. I can only remember some of the jokes now. So
there's a sort of an annual observance of Rick Mel's passing as well, which which is quite a surprise, I think.
Yeah, it's 10 years this year as well, which is so that's a big one. It's in June, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that happens on social media a lot. Do people make pilgrimages to the bench in Hammersmith? I should know this. It's up my road. Wow. It's up my road, and I should know this.
I might be doing a pilgrimage myself to it.
Right. Okay.
Point. Yeah.
Well, I might come and join you.
For reasons. Oh, that would be lovely.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you might want that to the time to reflect on your own. So I don't want to intrude.
No, I'm terrible company.
All right.
Hang on. Oh no, that did make sense. Yeah. So I just thought, hang on, that's not going to entice him, is it? But it made sense from where I was coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but if you want to, I'm just up the road. Just give us a shout.
Okay, I will.
Sorry.
I'll discuss that after the stream in the debrief. Okay. One of the reasons we don't do there's this thing called raiding on Twitch where we basically.
Oh, hang on.
Oh. I think we can. Okay, I think we can put our orders in now.
Oh, right. Okay. What have they got?
They have. Oh, so it was a slight delay, which again I feel like is just another perfect part of the simulation. Is that the announcement comes slightly ahead of the availability of the of the actual picking.
Oh, Bugs Bunny's on.
Yes, Bugs Bunny's on. I don't think we can watch that for legal reasons.
Oh, right. Okay, let's pretend it's not there.
Yeah. Okay. It's not like it's Steamboat Willie. I started reading.
Just put this in the archives and then show it in about 30 years' time.
Yeah,
it might be okay.
Sorted. We'll be fine. I'm going to go apple juice. It's a favourite.
Yeah. I can understand that. Yes. Do they have any fizzy drinks?
They have soda, cola.
Ooh.
It's always slightly suspicious when it's just cola.
Now, I'm going to contradict myself because I said I didn't have any caffeine, but now we're up in the air and we're at a level. I am now relaxed, and I think I could risk some kind of nondescript cola, non-branded cola,
Okay.
nondescript cola. It'll be delicious, I'm sure.
Cola it is. Yes. Good. Cola it is. Fish or steak? I remember I had lasagna. Yeah, a bit of airplane for you from Soupy Dorman.
That's very good.
They're redoing Naked Gun.
Are they?
Have you heard this? Have you heard this?
Who with?
Well, Leslie Nielsen obviously is no longer with us.
No.
So what's the next best thing? And by next best thing, I mean next person in the...
Well, the usual person that they go to is Steve Martin. Or
It's not. God, yeah.
Will it?
So that was Bilko, Clouseau.
Yes, he goes down for the treble.
No, it's Liam Neeson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, really? That's exactly the right reaction, I think.
I can understand that because serious acting background and all that.
Mm.
I prefer Police Squad to The Naked Gun. I must admit, I think it's closer in terms of gags to Airplane. The Naked Gun's very good. I do like it. Naked Gun 2.5 isn't quite as good as The Naked Gun because I think this is where Leslie Nielsen starts to gurn a bit to camera.
Yeah.
And I much prefer the and I can understand why he would do that because you can't. Can you keep repeating the same trick? Well, possibly, but I can understand also why he would be, playing up to looking down the lens and stuff like that. But I don't like it as much.
It's been a while since I've seen the movies, but I think, from my cloudy memory of it, I think one of the problems with Naked Airplane lampooning airport disaster films, very, very clear and distinct genre.
Yes.
And Police Squad, obviously lampooning those kind of 70s streets of San Francisco style
Yeah, both Police Squad and Airplane were a lot of them were based on actual episodes or movies or TV movies.
Yeah.
The first episode of Police Squad is almost shot for shot an episode of I've forgotten what it is now, but I've seen the episode,
Yeah.
and and it is the same plot, and
It's the
that's great.
it's this. I'm trying to remember now because the title sequence is stolen as well, isn't it? More or less. That sort of camera behind the flashing light.
Yeah, it's a black and white series from the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
The first episode is based on, and it's when you see it after seeing Airplane is based on another film which also escapes me, but I've seen that as well, and they're both hilarious because they're very close indeed.
Yeah,
that helps. Should be on the DVDs as extras or whatever.
But I think the Naked Gun films, it's like the target isn't quite as clearly drawn.
No, the Naked Gun films is a feature film version of a spoof of a TV series. So when you say Streets of San Francisco, that's very, very close to what Police Squad is.
Yeah.
And doing a movie of it takes it out of that, and it's still funny.
Yeah.
But there's no equivalent, really, is there? Especially when you get to the 1990s.
There's the scene where he goes for a very long pee with his radio mic still on in the middle of a police conference. It's a funny scene. There's no getting around it. It's funny, but it's like, what's that from? It's not from anything really. So
yeah, they need to go back to basics then, I suppose. But then, what else do you know about the new Naked Gun? Is it any of the same the Zuckers involved in any way?
It's not. No, it's who is it? Is it Seth Thingy?
MacFarlane?
I think it's Seth MacFarlane.
Oh. Well, I'll give it a try. I mean, I'll watch any old revival of anything, even when people say no, leave it well alone. I'll go, I'll have a look at it. I'm always interested. I'm always very curious. It may be terrible, but if it makes me laugh in one or two places, maybe it's justified. Maybe more than one or two places.
There's a particular axe that we've been grinding at the Little Massive for a little while, which is that the critical space for film and television, by which I mean the space in which critics pass comment, has become so black and white of something either has to be absolutely amazing, or the worst thing ever committed to celluloid. Not that it is, of course, but I find myself going to see a lot of films that were decried as being terrible and enjoying them.
Yeah,
and that's all I need really is to enjoy the 86 minutes or whatever, or increasingly 186 minutes.
I seem to remember, and I haven't seen this for many years, but Mel Brooks' Life Stinks, that got 1-star reviews when that came out, and I thought it was making me laugh in quite a few places.
Yeah, it's 1 star from the other thing. It's a 1 star from Mel Brooks. I remember somebody. It was the Emmy Award-winning comedy writer David Quantick, I think, saying of a particular Pet Shop Boys single. If anybody else had brought this single out, people would be raving about it. But because it's Pet Shop Boys, they'll go, "Oh, it's just another Pet Shop Boys single."
Oh right, can you remember which tune it was?
I can't. I think it was quite a late one.
It would be absolutely fabulous, though.
Pretty sure it wasn't that.
Right. But that said, Dracula Dead and Loving It was not a good film.
No.
I even didn't mind Robin Hood Men in Tights, had a couple of laughs, but Dracula Dead and Loving It, with Leslie Nielsen, of course, felt like a total
fabled vamp.
Yeah, just didn't hold together.
Yeah. It's I think that is it. I think that they're at their best when they've got a very specific target and a very specific source of stuff.
I agree.
Airplane, phenomenally based on one particular film.
Yeah, but then Top Secret's a bit weird like that, then, isn't it? Because that's not quite. I'm not quite sure what that's based on. So spy movies in some fashion, but yeah.
We've cracked it. We've cracked it. That's what it is. Let's go out and get something commissioned.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, now this isn't really fair because I should. You aren't sort of going around basically taking pictures from people and then saying yes, we'll make that. That's not your kind of position in the world, is it? You personally?
No. Well, as a commissioners, people who do that. No, I don't.
No.
And there's an art to it, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. There's a timeline to it as well, which I find quite frightening. But I don't know enough about that to talk about it. But no, it's just there was somebody who may still be in chat who has an idea for a show.
Yeah.
And I know you're not in a position to move this forward or do anything with it, and you're obviously under no obligation to. But it was if I'm going to get this right, it's a prank show where the prankster is David Mitchell, the comedian, not the origami author or the other author. And he does pranks on people, but they're kind of the schoolboy kind of low level cling film across the toilet sort of
very
pranks.
Good. Yes. Well, hard to film.
Like that in particular, this day and age. Yeah.
But
and I think Groggy Boogie is still in chat. I think what happens is that when the prank comes off, when the person tries to get into the bed, only to find that they can't because of the way the sheets have been folded, David Mitchell comes out from a hiding place and says, "You've been bitched, Groggy Boogie." Was that the catchphrase?
Oh,
I think that was the. Yes. Okay. I'm getting a yes from Matty. Yeah, you've been bitched.
Because I can imagine him saying that with such venom.
You've been bitched.
Yeah, he's very good at sounding like he really means something.
Yes. Yeah. Even when he doesn't.
He could deliver that line really, really well. I think. Yeah. It's a. Do you know what? I'd watch it. I'd certainly watch it, and I think his legion of fans would definitely watch as well. And I think that would make it quite a popular show. I haven't seen many prank shows for a while, and I wonder if it's sort of. There was a time when television, shall we say, felt a little bit more adventurous or cruel. Some may say.
I think one of the.
I mean, I worry about the duty of care if you fold sheets in a particular way and someone gets really quite cross about it.
Yeah. Whether we're doing they enter the bed so confidently that they fall.
I wonder if we're upset. Yeah, it was a health and safety thing as well, but also upsetting their feelings in such a fashion or leaving them frustrated in such a fashion. I mean, is that would we need to have some psychologists on the other side of it to help people cope with it? I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'd have a jolly good laugh at it.
I watched because I think one of the other things that has done for the prank show is the need for truth on television shows.
Oh yes, that thing.
Yeah, and because I watched, I don't even know how I ended up watching this, but it was a Noel's house party.
Oh yes,
where they used to do this. I'd completely forgotten they used to do this. They would essentially wire somebody up with a microphone and an earpiece, and send them out into the world and get them to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it was I think it was a woman had to go on a date with this guy, and they basically just act out in the restaurant. And you're watching this thinking, oh, this is how embarrassing is this that she's having to do all of this? I assume for money, But you're watching all of these people around her reacting. You're thinking, oh, none of this is real. These are all actors. And you kind of think, well. What am I now? What am I watching? And who is? It became a very confusing kind of space to make any kind of sense of.
I suppose so.
Unless you were duped by it.
Because did the people around, the actors, did they have to react to what was going on?
Yeah.
very much at all as well.
Yeah, and it was that sense as well that they'd basically just filled a restaurant with supporting artists and got a few actors in to be the main sort of.
But then I suppose, you have to control the situation as well. I've done a few hidden camera shows in my time for my sins, and maybe they wanted to control the situation so someone doesn't get up and ruin the thing. If you had someone on the other table coming to her rescue, for example, when she's supposed to be the star of the show, does that make it? Does that mean it's necessary, or is there a sort of legal reason or a compliance reason that needed to be done? I'm sure people were a little bit faster and looser with compliance back in the day, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't want to say that and then be completely corrected by people who worked on the shows at the time. I wonder if there was a reason to do it, or maybe they just thought actors would be good in a situation like that. In terms of reacting
delivery, as well
delivering.
as sort of it being. I can't remember if that segment was live, because I get the feeling that not all of Noel's House Party was live.
Not all of it, no.
When
he went downstairs, that was pre-recorded.
I
was in the audience for one.
Shocking.
Yeah, it was one when someone said a very naughty word on NTV.
My favourite, I can't tell that story, can I? A very well-known red-haired DJ. There's a rumour about his appearance on NTV, but we can't.
Yes, I've heard about
possibly discuss
that.
that. No, let's
watching the episode.
Let's pop it away, shall we? That one.
Did he say that?
Words to that effect, certainly. Yeah. Anyway. We're deleting this
Baby Watch, wasn't it? Sorry, carry on.
Anyway, yes, moving forward.
Yes.
What was done for the prank show, writes Mr. Frightful, is people being assaulted for YouTube likes. Yeah, because a lot of pranking is on
very good point.
Yeah, on the YouTube.
That is a very good point. Yes. Yeah.
It's hard to compete with people who don't care about getting a release. Yeah,
arrested.
and indeed arrested.
Well, I mean, it's space effect.
Yeah, that chap that was just walking into people's homes.
Yes, that was something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was quite young, wasn't he? I saw him. He was interviewed on Channel 4 News, wasn't he? Or I think it was. And he saw the entertainment side of it, perhaps. Maybe not so much the legal side of it.
Ironically, that sort of thing, you kind of, if that had all been a fiction, I'd have quite respected it in a way.
Yeah. Well, I did Balls of Steel for Channel 4, and that had some quite hardcore stuff in it. It must be said, and I think I did leave a fair few people quite upset with some of the stunts we did, because I did a lot of the fake quiz shows. There was one particular chap who stormed off because of the stupidity of the questions, which I wrote as there as well, actually, thinking about it. But having said that, I still keep in touch with him a little bit. He's a sort of hardcore quizzer. And he was great afterwards, actually, because he was just sort of he thought the program was appalling, which that's fine. But we then discussed the history of prank shows on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we'd occasionally meet up and just sort of chat about stuff and things like that. And
I'd say as well, in the moment, if you're in the headspace for a quiz and the thing that you're involved in becomes something else. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. It's not necessarily a pleasant shift that you're going to go through.
Well, and his specialist subject matter would have been, it wasn't exactly, it was quite a serious subject. It was the Diary of Anne Frank. So
oh gosh,
it's not exactly, yes, don't think I could say anything more.
No. We've reached a legal cul-de-sac, if nothing else.
Well, yes, exactly.
But,
yeah. I was another poor chap who was doing stuff on Poirot as well. He was lovely.
Yeah.
He was baffled at the end. He was just wonderfully baffled.
Yeah.
They're all lovely, though. I mean, I did a lot of contestant research and stuff like that, and I've always admired people who have the nerve to apply for quiz and game shows and taking part on TV, because I don't have the nerve for that, and they earn my respect.
Matty Stevo in chat wants me to go on the 1% club.
Oh, I think you'd probably do quite well on that, wouldn't you?
I would and I wouldn't. I think I'd be one of those people who just get absolutely caught in the headlights.
Yeah.
And I know as well that if my back's up against the wall, or I feel like my back's up against the wall, that's when Mr. Overthink comes into play. And ironically, a lot of the time, certainly early on in the game, Overthink is just death.
Yeah.
To getting through.
Well, I mean, they always say the pressure of the lights and stuff like that, and there's a certain amount of truth in that, because I regard myself as fairly bright. No A's at GCSE level, but fairly bright and quite good at quiz show run-throughs. I would do fairly well. There were one or two occasions where I did actually beat Richard Osman, who was working as a producer back then in development. And I'm sure I beat him once or twice, which is a good claim to fame, I suppose. But then later on, I remember doing a run-through of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Mother's Day special in about 2012 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to be great at this, because, I'm quite good at trivia and stuff like that, and I got knocked out at £1,000 with a stupid answer to a question. And Chris Tarrant was doing this run through as a rehearsal, and he absolutely lambasted me. And because it was a rehearsal, he didn't really hold back on his language either. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, if you're watching, switch off now. You're not welcome here. We don't need your money.
Don't! Oh no! Because I'm a huge Tarrant fan. We
do need your money. We do need your money, Chris. Please don't go anywhere. I said it out loud. And I thought, is that right? Do we not need his money? I think we do need his money.
I'd love some of his money. Yeah,
a little of his money.
Yeah,
which raises the question: if you had an infinite budget,
yes,
you could do whatever you wanted.
Yes.
What would you make?
Oh, I'd do something totally self-indulgent then.
Obviously.
Just something that only I would be interested in.
Yeah.
Because what would that be? That would be actually probably revive Noel's house party with Noel.
Yeah.
And
with Noel.
But no one sees it. It's all in a self-contained.
Does Noel know this?
Yeah. Well, no, and I wouldn't hold him at gunpoint or anything like that. I'm not an obsessive stalker or anything. Well, maybe I am. But no, it'd be quite interesting just having my own personal Noel's house party.
Yeah.
That I would just sit. I wouldn't participate in it at all. I would have, Sue Pollard could get a gotcha or something like that. Yeah. So just a personal episode of Noel's house party, a really good one. Not because I do think the first couple of series of Noel's house party were tremendous, and it sort of lost its way a little bit. But I'd rather take those first two series. Always got that.
We've missed our drinks, I think. Oh, never mind. There'll be drinks at the airport.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. But you can put your seatbelt on that now, and you get that relief.
Yeah, afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like putting on tight shoes or taking up smoking.
Yes.
Yeah. A little tip there,
Yeah. It's a bit masochistic, isn't it?
Just a bit. Can't believe he didn't say David Mitchell's "You've Been Bitched." You've been. Yeah. Anyway, Groggy's.
I'm sure that it may be a controversial thing to say that I liked Noel's House Party. I'm sure a lot of people would rush to disagree.
I remember it being like a breath of
they're all
fresh
wrong
air.
because I do like it. So
when it started, I seem to remember it being like a breath of fresh air.
Yes, well, you had the Noel Emma's Saturday Roadshow, which was pre-recorded, and it was all right, but it didn't make a splash. And then you had the live Noel's House Party with NTV, and that first episode was just an absolute revelation. It had half the strands in it were from the Noel Emma Saturday Roadshow. It just clicked. It just made sense. Yeah. But it just ran out of steam. It did. I think when Mr. Blobby came into it, that's when it takes a downturn. When he becomes not a character that features in a gotcha, and it's Noel underneath the head. Yeah. And then he becomes a character in himself. Then it starts to lose it. Unfortunately, it believes in its own hype. And I think that's a danger sign for any television show.
Of course, without Noel's House Party, we would have been robbed of a little bit of Alan Partridge.
Yes.
There's that Alan Partridge episode where he goes, now one of the critics has called this show moribund. Now I looked up moribund in the dictionary, which is always a brilliant gag. I looked up moribund in the dictionary. It says something that is deathly or about to die. But Noel basically did that. I don't think he had knives thrown at him.
I think he did.
Did he?
No.
Should have done.
No. I think people wanted to, but he wasn't having any of it. But actually, with Knowing Me, Knowing You, there's a few. Again, it's a bit like Police Squad. There's a few clear references to chat shows that did happen. So, Big Christmas Cracker on Knowing Me, Knowing Yule. I think that was very much Russell Harty one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think where he talks with the guy who was responsible for the ratings.
Really?
I think that's based on, and forgive me for this, I think that's based on an episode of Clunk Click with Jimmy Savile. I won't go there very fast,
the late Jimmy Savile.
Yes, he's certainly dead.
Yeah.
Well, I think he is. I don't know. You always said he was going to be immortal. But anyway, I think there's an episode where he speaks to a guy who is in charge of the ratings for one episode as well. Yeah. So I wonder if they got it from that.
Yeah.
But we should draw a line underneath that. Because,
absolutely. Let's move on from the. But that's sort of. Do you think that there's something that television used to have that it doesn't have anymore, and kind of that you miss? This is a very broad question.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think schedules, I think, for me, are very important. Maybe not so for anybody else on this planet, but I used to like Thursday nights on BBC One. I think were very good. It was a really good lineup because you'd have your Tomorrow's World after Nationwide or whatever, and Top of the Pops. And then you'd have something a bit like Three of a Kind or the Kenny Everett Show, and after 9 o'clock, Blackadder. It was a real nice signpost that the weekend was coming because we put really good entertainment-y shows on, and Tomorrow's World, but that was just quite fun to watch anyway.
Absolutely.
There was a nice sort of signifier there that, here we go, weekend's coming. If you look at weekday schedules these days, it's between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Well, you've got the one show which does a job, but if you look at what's been on that day, you have most of the day with similar sorts of programs.
Yeah.
Morning Live and
my problem with the one show, which I think I've possibly told you before, is I thought because of the name that it was on at 1 p.m. So everything that I saw of the one show, I assumed was going out early afternoon.
Oh,
I was dumbfounded when I found out when it was actually. It's like, what? why are you putting it out then?
The 7 show.
It's such a sort of a Pebble Mill kind of format.
Yeah. Well, it was trying to be originally. It was trying to be the new Nationwide, I think. Yeah. And I think when it started, for me, it was a bit. I preferred it when it would have items that were a bit nationwide-y, and now it's a bit more showbiz. I mean, I, I suppose some of the presenters they have on the show they're not really Frank Boff or Michael Barrett, are they? So I think that sort of that slight journalism edge has kind of gone from that show, and it's much more of a straight chat show these days, which I think is a bit of a shame because at least it was doing something else there. And then later on, your 8 p.m. slots, where's I don't see many entertainment shows. I'd like to see more, fun quizzes, or a bit of chat, or a bit of just something a bit more entertainmenty, really. With in a studio with an audience, I'd love that. But again, I'm a dinosaur, baby.
I think one of the things that's gone,
yes,
is that there used to be like a circle of celebs that were just on this sort of rotating rota, I guess. And sort of Russell Harty terrible for this. If it would be like, oh, we've got Diana Dawes on again, and this sort of sense that there was this and panel games, and I suppose we've still got that to some extent, but
yes,
it's all stand-up comedians.
Whereas
yes, you'd have a kind of a wider range of people that were plucked and put into these shows.
Totally and utterly. And have you noticed also with stand-up comedians, they now there's a lot of chasing after hosting a quiz show, which almost harks back to the Monkhouse days in some ways.
Totally.
I don't know. They sort of it seems like a golden opportunity for stand-ups now, rather than the Christmas DVDs coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah,
do a game show, do a quiz show. That's the way to do it. But some aren't quite as good as others, possibly. I don't know. I think it's just having the lightness of touch of Monkhouse, and I suppose you can criticize Bradley Walsh all you like, but he does know sort of how to do it, doesn't
he? Absolutely.
And then there are some that I would express surprise at hosting a quiz show, but they're all fairly good and well produced. And it's certainly better for me than having quiz shows hosted by, I don't want to say stunt casting, but some people like John McEnroe did one, didn't he? The Chair, which was all right.
Oh gosh.
And I worked on Shafted with Robert Kilroy Silk, which was fascinating because they only showed 4 episodes of that in the end. There's another 8 waiting to go out.
Oh, excellent. So when are they?
I've still not seen them in the schedules yet after 23 years.
I have to wait for the Veritas party to get an MP in first.
Well, yes. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon either. I suspect they may not exist anymore, unless
it's a terrible name. It's a terrible name for a political party, because you search Veritas, you just end up with 800 businesses in Kent. That's basically what happens. That's what happens when you do that.
Yeah, it's got a bit like those sort of weird company names, I suppose.
Yeah.
But a lot of those company names are sort of butting together 2 words into, I don't know, Aviva. I mean, Consignia was the one, wasn't it? Oh, hang on.
No, easy. It's fine. Look at me.
Oh, no, it's fine. Landing, I find quite fun.
Okay, that's fine.
The landing. But
it appears to be on the water.
As soon as we know that I'm down on the ground again, I tend to laugh because it makes me nervous laugh. It's a sort of, oh, thank goodness for that.
Yeah. Are you sort of laughing at your own anxiety, sort of dissipating a bit, maybe?
Yeah, but I can't take myself seriously. I mean, if you've seen me have a serious argument with someone, I actually do burst into laughter about 30 seconds later. It doesn't happen very often, and that's one of the reasons why it's so absurd. So
I stopped a fight in Tesco today.
Did you?
Yes. It was
Tesco in New York.
Tesco in New York. It was, yeah. There's a Tesco in New York.
Yeah.
I won't tell the full story, but I suddenly found myself kind of basically telling an aggressive man to go over there and chill out and have a think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What was he? Was he getting? He hadn't turned violent though, had he?
He was very aggressive to somebody.
Right. Was it a member of staff?
No, it was another customer, and the other customer was basically just trying to steer clear. One was trying to escalate, and the other one was sort of trying to de-escalate, but at the same time protect his son. And it was a mess.
Oh, no.
And then it just reached this point where they're going, no, this is going to be violence in 2 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anyone's going to step in, exactly.
Because you're not going to punch this, are you? I hope not.
No, exactly. And you're a very calming influence. Very calming influence. Because, like I say, I should be really nervous going on this plane, but
do you know what it is?
Fine. What?
I think I breathe at about half the speed of everybody else.
Oh.
And I think people just plug into that.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily consciously aware.
Yeah.
They're just like...
no, that does make sense,
slow
though,
their own
it?
breathing down.
Yeah. Because, some people mimic the accent of the person that they're talking to sometimes.
Yes.
Maybe breathing. Maybe I've been mimicking your breathing.
Possibly. It's not impossible, certainly, is it? Now we're taxiing, so we've got a little bit of time. Matthew Stephen has a question he'd like to ask you.
Yes.
Which is, have you ever done anything for streaming, for non-linear? I think we'd call it in the industry.
I haven't. No. That's not by choice. I would certainly leap at the chance. Not the sort of programs that I make don't tend to. You get a few documentaries though, don't you? Yeah, you absolutely do. I would be very keen to give it a try, just to see what the experience is like. Especially if it's, for international markets. For starters, do I spell things the same? I don't know. But also just knowing the business being quite different in the States and other places like that, and it may be quite an intense experience, I suppose. But the other thing is, you're probably more answerable to a lot of people at the top, because a lot of people will have more of an interest in it and how it will represent something for their country. So I'd like to give it a try. I don't know whether I'd enjoy the experience or not, because it's nice. The best thing is when you get minimal interference from the top, and I'm sure that's not a terrible thing to say, because there's some very talented people, of course. But when you want to make a program, you want to make a program that is the sort of one that you got in your head. And if you get 85% of that right, you've done tremendously well.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether doing something for Netflix or Disney or whoever, Amazon, you would get that kind of, dare I say, authorship. Some sort. When I say authorship, it's authorship. Yeah, but as I say, you're with a big team anyway, so it's a collaborative effort anyway. So, yeah, I'd give it a try. Especially, I'm not working at the moment, so if they came calling, I would say yes, please.
There's a thing that I heard. I think it was Dexter Fletcher.
Yes,
was directing something, and he wanted this. It was an episode of something, I think, and he wanted this kind of Shining-esque sort of start, following a car down this road, and then getting to the business of the episode. And he was told that basically audiences aren't going to put up with that anymore. As if that was something to be put up with in the first place, but that basically, if you haven't hit the meat in this particular televisual sandwich within like the first 30, 60 seconds, they're already onto something else. And I found that quite interesting.
That is very interesting, because I've noticed there's a lot of the complete opposite. Have you watched the BBC News lately?
I try not to,
for example. No. Well, if you happen to stumble across it, it's interesting seeing how it's now over 2 minutes, the headlines before the titles come in. And you think, that's using up valuable news time. You could find out much more about what's going on in the world if you just said, this happened, this happened, this happened. Back in the 90s, when they had these pre-titles teasers with Michael Burke telling you about all sorts of things that are going on,
in between
German
the bombs.
reunification, or whatever.
Yeah.
He'd get that over and done with within 30 seconds. And now it's 2 minutes of nonsense, and they only seem to cover about 3 or 4 stories. It's very odd. But so it's interesting that they say they want to get the first 30 seconds or 60 seconds, because I think those opening teasers are getting very, very big these days.
Yeah.
And actually, on bottom, we do spend probably 2 minutes on it, but it's a 2-hour show. Is my argument. But I think when people spend 2 minutes stating what they're going to be doing,
yeah,
I do wonder if it's sort of filling in time. But it's the way of things these days. It's the way of things, and there's an art to it, and people can do a fantastic job of it. I just like to not spend too long on an opening.
I feel like it's sort of, we used to watch TV, but now we kind of graze TV.
Yeah.
I think that's the big change, which is I assume why, and it's because it's a bit of a bugbear for me, but it's the pre-cap recap. Stuff.
The other thing that bothers me, and I've done it with Bottom actually, is the really short opening titles, and actually making that pre-titles thing part of your and the tune ends with a 5-second animation or whatever. But I like to do a full 20 seconds, 30 seconds title sequence normally.
I mean, historically, that was so that you could get in from the kitchen. You'd put the TV on before the show started. Yeah. And then when you heard the theme tune, you'd rush in.
Yeah, but I would never do that, because I like the art of it. I like to see what someone's conjured up as a sort of visual representation of the program that you've made. It's one of the things that I get very excited about, and I'm always all over title sequences when on anything that I make. Quite often, I'm quite dictatorial. I say, this is what it needs to have. You do this, and this. Some people quite like it actually, because it's nice to be given a direction. But I hope I don't compromise anyone's creativity when I do that.
It sounds redundant to say it, but you're basically saying this is what the show is. This is its tone. This is its pacing.
Yeah. And I like to have fun with it as well. And I often use a piece of music that a piece of commercial music, or I haven't really commissioned theme tunes very often. Series 2 and 3 of It Was Alright in the 70s we did. But selecting the right kind of tune is quite fun as well. But I do like a theme tune anyway, especially composed ones. It's just that they cost.
Yeah.
But then you get you then have the rights to play it as many times as you like.
Yes.
Which is also good.
I think the licensing might have changed on our theme tune for Jacks Off on a Plane with. Now we you won't believe this. We licensed the theme tune. It was a pre-written thing. But you can sing the title of the show to it,
which is key. I mean, that's a very Ronnie Hazelhurst thing, wasn't it? You can easily tell. I mean, it's not just him as well. There were very many other composers that would do that. The only one that doesn't work is when Ronnie Hazelhurst composed the theme to 3 Up 2 Down, which was a piece of music, piece of jazz music that he released on a record before then, or it might have been a library music or something like that. But you can't quite sing it because it goes da 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 da, and then you can't fit 2 in that. You have to go 3 up down.
Yeah.
But it nearly works. It nearly works.
Upstairs, downstairs, up, down. Blimey.
But then, on a similar subject, the Morrison's jingle on the advert is really bothering me, because it's the Mexican hat dance.
All right.
And that doesn't scan. They go, well, we just shop at Morrison's. It's got one too many syllables.
I see a lot of
drives me nuts.
Again, without doxing myself, I see a lot of scripts for ads before they are produced. Yeah. And the number of them where it's like, oh, this is to the tune of You're the One That I Want. And you look at it and you're thinking, well, good luck singing that.
Yeah.
Because it just does not fit.
Yeah.
I mean, how can I can sort of understand to some extent, because we see a lot of bad poetry as well coming in. That you look at a piece of poetry and think, well, doesn't really scan, but
Mm.
that's a copywriter somewhere that's essentially writing that in a vacuum. But when you're adapting the lyrics to an existing song, how can you get that wrong? I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it may be something to do with your clients. There may be some boss of Morrison's who really likes the Mexican hat dance.
Yeah.
And says, I want it to say this to this tune.
Yeah.
It's great. And then they have to do it because it's a commercial venture. I mean, you have to. The client is always right in this instance. But if it's a special composer who came up with that jingle, I think they need to have a think about their career.
Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely. Sorry. No, I think it's valuable advice, I think.
Well, I'm only being fair, really, because they're in the wrong job, aren't they?
Yeah.
Quite clearly, if you can't do that, I mean, this is just 5 or 6 notes.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah. Does it go up? Does it go down? That's all you need to worry about. And if so, by how much? Yeah, that's 2 questions.
That said, maybe it's a ploy because they use every tactic with advertising, don't they? And maybe singing a jingle that doesn't scan means I remember it.
I when I was at school, we had a chap come in to talk about advertising. And do you remember there was an advert for a washing powder called Radion? I think it was Radion.
Remember it? I saw an advert for it last night whilst I was watching some old telly. I frequently watch old adverts and continuity announcements very late at night, and it was disappointingly, it was the one where they gave a camera to the family film rather than the "Are you happy with your wash" one?
Yeah. Well, that's
there's also another. Oh, very quickly, there's also another one which features the lady psychologist from Ghostwatch, the ghost expert.
Oh, I love her.
And that's why I was one of the reasons why I was never convinced by Ghostwatch. But anyway, back to what you were saying.
Absolutely, because she was a really big. I mean, they weren't in Ghostwatch. They weren't trying to fool anyone. It was in a drama slot, and they
exactly.
They
I knew
cast
about it.
a very, very well-known actress to play.
I read it. It was coming up in TV Zone, and it had the Screen One ident on it and stuff like that. So I was not fooled. But
Michael Parkinson doing promo and saying that it was a drama. Anyway.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, what were you going to say about Radion?
Yes. So now, at the time, and I suppose this is still the case, the UK was awash, if you'll excuse the pun, with washing powders of various brands, and suddenly there's new kid on the block, which is probably made by the same companies that make all the other ones.
It might have been Lever Brothers, I think.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Comes up with
I could be wrong actually.
So they were essentially given a brief to try and get as much market penetration for this brand new washing powder as possible. I think that was why it was called Radion as well. It was the idea that it was new, it was radical.
Yeah.
And they did this by was it the one that you saw? Was it the one that ended in the violin playing?
No, but the first Radion advert I remember is the bloke on Channel 9 News going, "Are you happy with your wash?"
Oh God,
do you remember that one?
I don't remember that one.
Oh, right, okay.
But the big sort of what I remember as being the breakthrough campaign was, as you say, this ad where they'd given a sort of video diaried it, so they give a family a camera so that they could make the Radion ad.
Yes. Now violin. No, I don't think this one had the violin in it, but that does vaguely ring a bell.
At the end, she was supposed to play the violin. She gets 2 notes in, fluffs a note, and then the whole family just collapse into giggles. Very warm,
right.
Very nice.
That does sound familiar to me.
But you're seeing that over and over again, like every commercial break. And they're saying, no, that was the whole point, was that it was basically supposed to irritate you so that it would be in your consciousness.
Yeah.
And apparently, they had a terrific return.
Well, you say that, you can't get it anymore, though, can you?
No.
Radion?
No. That's why I was slightly surprised that you said that you'd seen an ad, because I thought, hang on, are they still
no.
still out there? But it was from an old,
Yeah. No, someone had uploaded an advert break, so I'm going to watch it and reminisce.
Soupy Dorman watched Ghostwatch with someone who wasn't alive when it was made, who today believes in ghosts. It was amusing. Yeah. Jack Little's wife, who you know, is saying that she'd been in an episode of Shelley, September '92.
Oh right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yes. Well, no. That also makes a certain degree of sense. As soon as you see her in these things, you go, it's her from Ghostwatch, because I suppose Ghostwatch is what she's best known for.
Yeah, I think what is interesting to me about her was that she's plainly based on a very specific parapsychologist.
Yeah,
who was a sort of a sketch. She was sort of a proto Richard Wiseman, I would say. She'd probably hate me for saying that. But that was, she was the one that they kind of went to when they wanted to parachute in a skeptical expert. It was her, and I'm 90% sure that
one bit that blows it for me is when she said she does that thing of going, "Can we wind that tape back again?" I've never seen anyone, no guest would ever say that, would they?
Yeah.
that's like in police dramas, they go, "Can you blow up that photo for me?"
Enhance, zoom, enhance, whichever.
I've never been. I just don't find that convincing, because I think if you showed me a clip here right now, and I saw something and I thought, oh, hang on, did I just see that? I wouldn't go, could you wind that back? Because I'm too polite. I'm too polite to do this. But maybe she was
investigative scientist.
Yeah, she just had a bit more attitude than.
But I think I worry about the language, maybe, of the requests. I said, can we see that again? I think might have been a better.
Yeah.
Maybe a better way.
Yeah.
Let's
I can't remember how it's
stop to Ghostwatch. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Finally, we're going to get this right.
Yeah, I've got the Blu-ray. I haven't watched it yet because
I
just like to own these things. But
now there's a motion picture called Late Night with the Devil, I think it's called, which is sort of a Ghostwatch-ish, but in like an American late night TV show.
Oh, right, okay.
That's worth a watch. It's fun. It doesn't quite fulfill its brief because it's supposed to be this sort of recovered studio tape, but then it goes full on Gary Shandling. So you get like they go to commercials and they get this sort of black and white footage of anything. And I don't think they even do anything to introduce where this footage is supposed to be coming from. Like, there was a documentary being made at the time. And they're having conversations that absolutely they wouldn't have in front of the documentary.
Going to commercials thing is very much this is a trope, as you would call it. And I suppose, do you know what? When Tommy Cooper died on stage, they went to adverts, didn't they? Yeah. They came back though, didn't they? As well.
They did.
You have
Tommy.
There's Dennis and Dustin G performing, and then Howard Keel whilst it's all going on, which is quite extraordinary when you think about it. You'd think they just end the program these days.
Old school, show must go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little bulge behind the curtain as well.
Yeah, which is allegedly where they were. Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy watching that, I must say.
No.
It's a bit much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't watch it at the time. I managed to find it elsewhere. And I was quite stressed by it, I must say.
It's horrible because you go. I know it sounds stupid.
He does a full routine as well.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I think, and it's one of those things. I think that sort of being able to film stuff, it gives you this sort of anxiety that didn't exist before, which is that you know what's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's already happened. But it hasn't already happened because you're watching it play out in front of you. It's a very weird psychological space.
Yeah, absolutely. But actually, the manner of his death is quite interesting, and the fact that people were laughing. I don't know whether it is. Is it good to die on stage when you're a comedian or not? I mean, at least he managed to make it sort of convincing that people were laughing. But
I can't remember who it was. Somebody saying that they were watching at home because it was live. It was live TV. Somebody watching at home and realizing that he was in trouble because of how gracefully he collapsed. And then if he was doing that as a bit, that's not how he would have collapsed. Yeah. So what a weird bit to do. Frankly.
That's true. But, well, there's an amazing bit of timing where he just sort of moves a bit further down I think, and that gets a bit of a laughter, not quite applause, but more laughter.
Yeah.
And then it goes a bit quiet, and then the curtains draw.
Yeah.
And then it's the adverts.
Quite an uncomfortable thing to have if you were in the audience and were part of that laughter.
What can you do? I mean, it was quite well timed.
Yeah,
it was quite well timed. So I mean, he did it impressively, I suppose.
Yes.
But
yeah. I think it's like dying when you're having sex. It's probably great for you, but not so great for everyone else. Everyone else. What kind of place is this? The other person or everyone else. That's better. That's slightly more normative, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, let's hope it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
To anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
What a way to bring this show to a close. So you don't know when the bottom thing's out yet, or either.
I've got half an idea, and I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be fairly soon.
That's excellent.
But I don't want. You don't give these things away because someone might schedule the Filthy Rich and Cat Flap documentary to spoil it for us.
Yeah.
So you keep your cards close to your chest.
I'm going to say as well that it's sort of talking about the lazy show and the sort of the short path between idea and production is that you're not creating TV in a vacuum. You're up against different channels making different, often very similar things.
Very much so.
So
yes. That is true.
You're not the only horse in the race.
Yeah.
And
I suppose you could argue that copycat shows can be seen as a bit lazy. I suppose the when ITV did their equivalent of Who Do You Think You Are? Is that lazy? I don't know, but the actual physical work that you would have to put into that show to make it work is considerable. But
yeah. Good. Well, there's the problem as well with this format, and we've not quite worked it out yet. Is the flight ends, but we're kind of stuck here.
Yeah. Have you got your belt still on?
What's going on there?
I
think I might have broken the game. He's still got his drink and his nuts, his pretzels.
He's having a great time, isn't he?
Something's gone horribly wrong tonight.
There's no one having any kind of anger towards this. No animosity. No impatience, apart from possibly us two. Everyone seems quite calm, and not baffled as to why we haven't left yet. I mean, look at it. He's doing that really well there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nonchalant.
He didn't drink anything. He's pretending to drink, which is slightly eerie. Slightly eerie.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. I feel like this is the moment. We talked about the death of Tommy Cooper. I don't think.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm looking forward to seeing the sights of Nova Scotia.
Absolutely, yes.
And reflecting.
The mid sights of Nova Scotia.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we should. I think what we'll do is, Adam, if you're willing to do this, we'll go off now and find like the most sort of cliched thing to be photographed in front of in Nova Scotia, and then we'll tweet it or something.
I'm very up for that. I'm sure we can find something.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining me on this lovely flight.
It flew by.
It did.
That's not even a pun. That's not even a pun.
It just did. And yes, and thank you as well, everybody, for watching and joining in. Sorry we couldn't read as much chat as perhaps we'd like.
I was babbling. I'm so sorry, everyone.
No. It's absolutely fine. It's the nature of the it's the nature of the thing.
Yeah.
And yes, we will be back. I will be back.
They can write it on a postcard if they want.
Yes. Where would they send that?
Well, I've got a Shepherd's Bush address, so London W12 8QT.
8QT. It'll reach us. It'll reach us. It won't reach us.
No.
And yes, we will. I will be back on Tuesday. God, it's Sunday, isn't it? On Tuesday with some chat and some Cocoon. That's a video game. And Adam, as we say, you will see the back of his head on television
Eventually.
in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
Asking questions about bottom.
It's quite handy because I can work out whether I've got a bald spot or not. And currently, I don't think I have. So but I could be wrong.
The Gimp has a drone, and because of taking video with the drone, he saw the top of his head. It was a sad day at Little Towers when he saw the top of his head. But yes, we will be back. Thank you, one and all. We're going to go to an end card. We've got an end card. All the mod cons. We've got an end card. We don't raid for these. We just finished because we've got to disembark and all that. And it's difficult to raid if you're disembarking.
But, I need the gents.
Exactly. So yes, thank you, Adam. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you again soon.
Cheers.